So I suspect the folks did their job, but I don't know under what circumstances or conditions. A lot of the weather forecast offices now are not operating at full complement of staff, which means that you're really putting an extra burden on these folks. I don't know how much that was a factor in what happened in Texas this weekend. Pick your favorite football team, and now imagine that team has, instead of 11 players, has 8 players. They're going to lose. No matter how good they are, they can't do the job of the full team. And that's what's happening at NOAA. Is these are outstanding scientists, wonderful technicians, terrific policy folks. But if we don't have enough of them doing the job, then something falls off the table. Without research, without staff to do the work, we can assume that the predictions, and not just hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, drought, wildfires, tsunamis, for that matter, are undoubtedly going to degrade. And that means that people's ability to prepare for these storms will be compromised. It undoubtedly means that additional lives will be lost and probably more property damage. And so you don't get the quality of the forecast and the watches and warnings and alerts if you don't have the people and the observational capabilities, and you can't fly the planes, or the satellites are not giving you the data. You're going to suffer. And one of the consequences of climate change is that we are putting more energy into the system. That's what heats up the globe. That's what causes sea level rise. It also causes more energetic weather systems. And so one way to think about it is that the extremities of storms, the volume of water, the strength of the wind, the size of the hurricane, all are going to change. And that's what we're seeing. So you think about it, Hurricane Harvey, which hit Texas, I want to say about 5 or 6 years ago, dropped 60 inches of rain in just a couple of days. That's extraordinary. And now what we're starting to see is storms like this are wetter, they're more powerful, they're larger. And it stands to reason that with climate change, if you put more energy into the system, you are going to see more energetic dynamics, which can translate to more rain, stronger winds. So obviously, climate change plays a role there. There are scientists who I think we're going to be back up around the 45% of delays being attributable to weather, because there just is not enough staffing to get the weather information out to CWSUs, to the FAA and the air traffic controllers. So yeah, and the airlines don't want that. They don't want to delay flights. And it's not just the passenger aviation. It's also all of the commercial transport, maybe all the FedEx and UPS and all the rest of them that are flying that get affected by weather. If the weather is not accurately delivered, or forecasts are not accurately delivered or delivered in a timely fashion, pilots are not going to take more risk than they have to, and they're going to say, I'll divert, I'll delay, because I'm just not sure what that thunderstorm is going to do up ahead. So let's take the safe route and wait another half an hour. Now you've got a half an hour delay on the flight. We will be lucky if we can hold steady in terms of the current capabilities. So whatever metric you choose to use to describe the accuracy of the forecast of a hurricane, of a winter storm, of a heat wave, right now is probably as good as it will get. Now, with the budget that's been submitted, in which the administration proposes the complete and total elimination of research at NOAA, I can pretty much guarantee there will be no improvements. If Congress chooses to remediate that and provide resources for research, then I feel like we'll be able to hold our own and maybe see some improvements, but certainly not at the pace that we were seeing them before. So
I want to say this. My instruction to every state agency involved in this is to assume everybody who is missing is alive, and there's a need for speed. Not just every hour, every minute counts, which is why there's people in the air, people in the water, people on the ground right now, because they're looking to save every last life, and we will not give up that effort.
Two more questions.
Why was the National Weather Service not pinging their phones before 7 o'clock this day of 4th of July? We need federal people who can answer that maybe for us. I got updates at 7 o'clock, first one I heard. And I've heard updates throughout the week, but not before 7 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't that a fundamental failure of the federal government's responsibility to keep us safe?
Well, you know, my background is, before I was in the secretary position here under the Trump administration, I was governor of South Dakota and served in Congress for 8 years before I was governor. And so I will tell you that for decades, for years, everybody knows that the weather is extremely difficult to predict, but also that the National Weather Service over the years at times has done well, and at times we have all wanted more time and more warning and more alerts and more notification. That is something, and one of the reasons that when President Trump took office, that he said he wanted to fix, and is currently upgrading the technology, and the National Weather Service has indicated that with that and NOAA that we needed to renew this ancient system that has been left in place with the federal government for many, many years, and that is the reforms that are ongoing there. The timeline that I have, I don't oversee the National Weather Service, that's not under my department, but the timeline that I did receive from them was that the notifications started to look at its expansion for its limited flood impacts area that started on July 3rd at 1:18 p.m. The flood watch was issued. Although it was moderate, it wasn't to the extremes that it was, that when the system came over the area that it stalled, it was much more water, much like I think we experienced during Harvey, the same type of system that was unpredictable in the way that it reacted and the way that it stopped right here and dumped unprecedented amounts of rain that caused a flooding event like this. They continue to elevate and up their notifications. You know, when your notification hit your phone, sir, I'm sorry, I can't speak to when that is, but I do carry your concerns back to the federal government and to President Trump, and we will do all we can to fix those kinds of things that may have felt like a failure to you and to your community members. But we know that everybody wants more warning time, and that's why we're working to upgrade the technologies that have been neglected by far too long to make sure that families have as much advanced notice as possible. But
One more question, folks.